Program this morning with the presentation of our second forum today entitled Culture, Wisdom and Ethics. So without delay, I would now like to invite Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Datuk Sri Muhammad Jauhar, our moderator, together with our two panelists, Mr. Aris Musnandar of the Maulana Malik Ibrahim Islamic State University of Malang, Indonesia, and Dr. James Campbell from the School of Education, Deakin University, Australia, for the second forum of the day. It's over to you now, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Datuk Sri Muhammad Jauhar.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yes, welcome to forum number 2. But before that, I must, do the usual, which is to thank the organizers, namely the University Science Islam Malaysia, the Higher Education Leadership Academy, for giving me this opportunity essentially to learn. I am not from this community. I came here to learn, and now I understand why Professor Zul and Professor Roshada invited me to moderate this session, because Prof. Zul especially, who I know for quite some time, has always been my teacher. I continue to learn from him. I learned from him yesterday, an excellent address by him. Of course, His Royal Highness, and the other address too by Dr. Keeler. I learned this morning. I am so sorry I won't be here this afternoon, but I was given a lecture by Dr. Muhammad Nawar just now, very quick, one-to-one. I appreciate all this very much because I always learn. And this session too, I am merely a moderator. I am in the presence of distinguished company. Before I introduce them, I would like to go back to our theme, what we are supposed to do here, which is to address the issue of rewriting the narrative for higher education for the 21st century. And we are to look at 3 particular dimensions of achieving this, rewriting this narrative, if we think this narrative has to be rewritten, at 3 dimensions. And in this forum, we are looking at one of those dimensions. It is culture, wisdom, and ethics. This is the area we are more or less focusing upon in this forum. To address this topic, we have 2 very distinguished speakers. One, I have been, Dr. James Campbell on my left. He may have to leave slightly early. We are starting a bit late. There is a worry that we might end slightly late. He has another appointment at 12:30. So Dr. James Campbell will go first. Next will be Dr. Aris Musnandar from Indonesia. He will come second. He is here as a very good substitute for Professor Dr. Imam Suprayogo, who unfortunately is not able to join us this morning because he has been. It will be explained later. But Dr. Aris is, he works very closely with the professor, and in fact assist him as well. So we will hear probably, very much the same thinking from Dr. Arias. Let me introduce Dr. James Campbell first. Very short introduction. He speaks very little about himself. He is a double PhD. Now, if some of us found it difficult to get a PhD, he has 2 of them. He's from the School of Education, Deakin University of Australia. He has a PhD first in education, and second in the field of politics. So he's of course, he writes profusely. Now, without further ado, because we don't have much time, Dr. James Campbell, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. My name is, if I can get this to work, no. My name is James Campbell, and I was very honoured to be asked to give a talk to this conference on changing or rewriting the narrative. I'll say from the get-go, as they say, I'm actually not a Muslim, and so when I was thinking about writing this talk for you today, I thought, what angle can I have that is useful but also redeems the invitation? And so I thought to myself that perhaps the angle that I wanted to talk to you about, which is one that I believe firmly in, is that I want to talk to you about the importance of, indeed the pivotal and central importance of Islamic civilization to the idea of the university in general. So not just universities that are formally Islamic universities, but the university. And so that is the essential argument that I'm going to make, and most of what I do is a journey to end up making that point, and then hopefully to arguing and showing why that point is important in regards to the narrative, in regards to our contemporary world, and the meaning of the university. So please bear with me. I hope that this all comes together at the end, and the meaning and argument of it comes together. I've actually ended this talk with a poem by Rumi, so if my words don't capture it, I hope Rumi's insight does. Okay, let me begin. I begin by putting up a quote here from Akbar S. Ahmed, who was the Ibn Khaldun chair, I think, at Georgetown. And I'll let you stew on that quote as I read, but it's my opening salvo, the opening position, as it were, the rhetorical first move. And so let me begin. Akbar S. Ahmed, in his discussion of the contemporary world, draws our attention to what is referred to as a clash of ideas, which informs how many people view the nature of our global civilizations and their relationships. On the one hand, Professor Akbar Ahmed reminds us of the idea that so-called Western civilization and Islamic civilization are inexorably defined in terms of conflict and a mutually predatory relationship, the clash of civilizations perspective. On the other hand, an opposed view resonates with the notion of dialogue and interconnection between civilizations, the dialogue of civilizations perspective. The former notion, the idea that the relationship between Islamic civilization and the West is necessarily predatory, or is perhaps one of the most hegemonic notions that exists in our contemporary world. The idea, which is sadly, very prevalent, constructs an entire civilization either as an enemy to be feared, or as backward or to be pitied, or, as is more often the case, some kind of mixture of both. As Emran Qureshi and Michael A. Sells remind us, quote, "The image of Islam in the West in a state of fundamental hostility is not new," end quote. Despite this, there are significant voices arguing for dialogue and mutual respect, and it is this sensibility and persuasion that informs the following discussion. How does this relate to the story of the university? George Makdisi, in his celebrated book, The Rise of the Colleges, Institutions of Learning in Islam and the West, provides arguably one of the most erudite and balanced and informed investigations into the relationship between the first colleges of medieval Europe, which were based on the charitable trust tradition, and the Islamic tradition and institute of Waqf. As a concrete example, Monica M. Galdiosi, draws our attention to the argument that, quote, Islamic influence was prominent in the development of the English trust, end quote. In regards, and this links us back to some of the presentations before, in regards to the development of the Oxford colleges, Galdiosi points out, quote, Oxford University would seem to represent the quintessential English academic institution, yet in its early phases of development, Oxford may have owed much to the Islamic legal institution of Waqf, the charitable trust. Now, there are many other thinkers who have talked about and through very rigorous scholarly investigation have engaged the issue of the foundations of the university within Islamic civilization. Scholars such as Khalil Tota, Ahmed Shalabi, Bayard Dodge, Arthur Stanley Tritton, Mehdi Nakostin, etc. et al. Not only is this influence of Islamic civilization on the idea of the university of historical interest, but it is also critical to understanding the moral dimension to the history of the university, and opens us up to engaging in dialogue over the very meaning of our educational institutions. Nicholas Tepstra makes the interesting point that, quote, there are enough parallels in economic activity, civic engagement, urbanistic presence, that at least one agenda for further research into the charitable institutions of Christian civic religion should be exploring the possible Islamic connections and inspirations. Islamic civilization has been the inspiration of our idea of the university. This is the point. How we understand the history, the story, and the narrative of the university in general informs how we engage the problem of the moral compass of universities more generally. The influence of Islamic civilization on the foundation of our idea of the university, on the university I come from, on the foundation of the idea of the university, with its emphasis on charity and the common good, provides us with a strategic point of reference to critique the direction and self-understanding of the contemporary university. Following the kind of intuition of Marshall Hodgson, who saw that, quote, that Islamic history was a strategic point from which to undertake a critique of the discourse of Western civilization, end quote. And if you recall, Marshall G.S. Hodgson is the author of the famous 3-volume Venture of Islam, still considered a classic. It may be possible to advance a re-examination of the narrative of the university and its contemporary nature by re-evaluating history and recovering not only a deeper and richer historical understanding, but providing a basis for a renewed critique of the currently existing values, directions, and ideologies of the university. The argument that I want to make in this paper is that the result of a dismissal and fear of Islamic civilization in the idea of the university, but also more broadly, is egregiously diminishing and hobbling our capacity to engage, understand, and recognize each other. It is impoverishing all of us. Myself, everybody, all of us. This dismissal and fear means that our contemporary debate about the values and aims of higher education are also impoverished. Furthermore, the popular dismissal and forgetting of the pivotal contribution that Islamic civilization has made to the idea and practices of the university closes us off from the critical contributions from Islamic civilization, which can provide us all with support for a more just and balanced notion of a university. This forgetting is powerful, despite the scholarly recognition of the debt that the university as an institution owes to Islamic civilization. All of us, Muslim and non-Muslim, are impoverished by this theft of history. by this theft of history, to use Jack Goody's evocative phrasing, which exists in our popular understanding of the history and nature of the university. In our contemporary world, the underpinning narratives of higher education are increasingly buffeted and influenced by the contemporary narratives, the story of competition, individualism, and the vulgar pursuit of position, where the value we do in a university is judged in relation to numeric tables of rank and so forth. The discourses of internationalisation and globalisation that are increasingly part of the rhetoric of contemporary universities appear more and more one-dimensional and economistic. And we've all heard about this with previous speakers. Neoliberalism increasingly informs the so-called modern view of the university. Is this what Niall Ferguson, a great historian at Harvard, is this what Niall Ferguson is referring to when he argues that, quote, "As for non-economic institutions, there is no debate worth having. All over the world, universities are converging on Western norms," end quote. Critics point to the heartlessness and sense of impoverishment that characterises the neoliberal modernity, fueled by the discourse of individualism, selfishness, and a breakdown of social concern and care for each other. Due to its central cultural position within modern societies, the argument over the historical and moral narrative of the university is therefore a key concern to engaging these flaws in our modern life. Furthermore, addressing the issue of the narrative of the university reinforces our capacity to demonstrate true inclusivity and sets an agenda for leadership for higher education. If the traditional spiritually imbued cultures of charity, care, faith, which imbued and informed the medieval Islamic Waqf and the rise of the colleges, was, as Yaakov Lev writes, quote, "instrumental for the cohesiveness of society and eased social tension and misery," end quote, then is it not valid for us to ask if this shared cultural history of the university, with its roots lying in Islamic civilization, can provide a source for an alternative narrative and a debate worth having for our universities? It seems that our narrative of higher education is therefore an issue of central concern, and the issue of the university's roots in Islamic civilization of critical importance. Critical importance. What effect does narrative have then on us as individuals and our self-understanding? We throw the term around a lot, but why is it important? The core issue here is that the nature and substance of our narrative defines our self-understanding, how we understand ourselves, our moral universe. Broadly speaking, in Charles Taylor's phrasing, you'll know Charles Taylor's latest book on the secular world is a classic. But broadly speaking, in Charles Taylor's phrasing, quote, "where we stand in our history, in the narrative of our becoming," end quote, informs how we understand the possibility of our future. Alistair McIntyre, who many of you have probably read, argues that narrative structures inform our quests, what we seek to do. Narrative structures inform our quests. In regard to the issue of ethics in higher education, it appears that the quality, character, content of our narrative, the story we tell ourselves about higher education, is critically related to the scope, the horizon that informs and limits our sense of possibility in higher education and ultimately our sense of moral possibility. Leslie Porthiel, for example, provides an interesting discussion of the significance of narrative and its connection to ethics in the formation of human judgment and affective motivation. He argues, quote, "narrative facilitates the cultivation of judgment because narrative, like direct experience, is conducive to implicit cognition and affect-based learning," end quote. The kind of narrative that now has hegemony, that rules in higher education, is increasingly influenced by the impact of neoliberalism and a radically secularised ethos, which diminishes spiritual discourse if it does not fit the aims and implicit framework of so-called Western rationalism, modernity, and secularization. For example, such hegemony provides us with little basis for intercultural understanding in relation to Islamic civilization. This is a critical problem for universities, and its salience should not be ignored. While changing the narrative in higher education is necessary and critical to change, it is not by itself sufficient. It is not sufficient. Reinstitutionalizing moral practices and values into the everyday practices of our higher educational institutions entails taking seriously the importance of the sacred dimension to our shared moral and institutional history. The reduction of meaning to what we value in higher education, to that which can only be quantified, measured and counted, is the mark of our modern world. René Guénon, whose work has influenced an impressive array of scholars, from E.F. Schumacher on the one hand through to Syed Hossein Nasser on the other hand, referred to this kind of situation as the reign of quantity. The breakdown of traditional authority and the transformation of the institutions that gave traditional values their grounding. This breakdown, and now the creation of organisations that are increasingly subservient to spectacle, mediatised forms of technology, and the needs of what Anton Ziegfeld calls abstract society, is now reframing how we think about things, how we think about each other. What is right? What is wrong? Where do I learn this? Who has authority? What authority do I respect? What do I hold sacred? Do I learn this in cyberspace? Do I learn it through commercialised media? What provides me with grounding in a shifting world at drift? Marx captured the process in his famous observation that modern capitalist society, all that is solid melts into air. Famous line, Communist Manifesto, Karl Marx, all that is solid melts into air. Critique of modernity. Recognising and engaging the diverse roots of our shared institutional history and the central, indeed pivotal role that Islamic civilization has played in the emergence and development of the university is a critical part in shifting the horizon of the university, allowing our contemporary institutional discourse of the university to be truly inclusive. It is also critical to reinvigorating our moral discussion about the nature and mission of the university. To shift the horizon requires dispensing with the colonial lens through which we view so-called non-Western civilizations. This colonial lens, which reinforces, quote, negative images and stereotypes, end quote, of Islamic civilization, underpins the public, a broad public perception of Islam and hinders our efforts to recognise and set right the narrative of the university in the public eye. The idea of the university as a dynamic and inclusive moral community is a desirable public purpose, one which must be based on a university narrative of recognition and mutual respect. There is no doubt that the recognition and respect of Islamic civilization in the discourse and narrative of the university serves a critical and positive public purpose, and advancing this purpose benefits all of us. All of us. So we return to the problem outlined by Akbar S. Ahmed. We return to the problem outlined by Akbar S. Ahmed at the start of this talk. The struggle, quote, between two diametrically opposed ideas, clash of civilization or dialogue. Public neglect of the Islamic dimension in the self-understanding of higher education represents a neglect of an important and critical contribution to the discussion about ethics and moral purpose of higher education generally. It represents a failure not only to understand the historical nature of the university in deeper and fuller context, but takes away from all of us, the critical voice of Islamic civilization, of Islam, to our discussion about the normative nature and mission of higher education. Furthermore, this neglect reinforces prejudices and stereotypes that so egregiously structure and inform our current world. Edward Said writes, and here I'm going to quote, "Too much attention paid to managing and clarifying the clash of cultures obliterates the fact of a great, often silent exchange and dialogue between them." End quote. Nowhere does this seem more relevant than the history and roots of the universities and higher education. Remembering this provides us with a narrative foundation for higher education that is both inclusive historically and reminds us of the inter-civilizational values we all share, which include care for each other and, above all, intersubjective recognition and respect. This narrative of higher education is of importance to us all, and reweaving it in an inclusive way is an important historical and ethical challenge. Niall Ferguson is wrong. There is a debate worth having, and to engage it requires recognising Islamic civilization as central for the emergence of the modern world and one of its most critical institutions, the university. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. That is all.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. I won't summarize what he said in the interest of time. I will proceed straight to the next speaker, who is, as I said, Dr. Aris Musnandar, who is standing in very ably for Dr. Imam Suprayogo, and he will speak more about this later, about Imam Suprayogo. But for the time being, about Dr. Aris Musnandar, he was in industry before. He worked in the private sector in some large companies, including some multinationals. He, in fact, has 20 years experience of working in the business and industry at some of the bigger companies. And then in 2004, he became an expert industry and business lecturer, in his own words, since 2004 at Brawijaya University in Indonesia. He also is now, for several years, assisting in postgraduate school of Universitas Islam Negeri Maulana Malik Ibrahim, or the State Islamic University in Malang, Indonesia, where he is now. And he is working very closely with Professor Imam Suprayogo, the former rector of that university, in merging, productively integrating science and Islam. He has his first degree, master's degree, doctoral degrees, mostly in the area of education, emphasizing human resources and Islamic educational management. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to invite Dr. Aris Musnandar.
Get this one. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal 'asr. Innal insana lafi khusrin illa إلى الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, it is a great honor for me here, and it's supposed to be Prof. Imam here. So let me tell a short story, why I'm here. Actually, I was a liaison officer between Prof. Imam and Prof. Rosada. When, Prof. Rosada invited him to be a speaker in the WICULS 2015. Prof. Imam is already committed to come here. But at the last moment, the minister, our Minister Religious Affairs needed him to help for special project. So unfortunately, I cannot come here. So, well, Prof. Imam asked me to, on behalf of him to do presentation. I will do my best, And Prof. Rosada also agree with that, so I will try my best. And on September 28th, I was in the car with Prof. Imam, but we went to the airport, but with different purpose. Prof. Imam went to Jakarta, but I went to Kuala Lumpur. But on the way to the airport, we discussed about the materials. So it's very, very short time, I prepare, the material. But Alhamdulillah, because my turn is the second day, so I do revise, I do revision, and this is what I get right now. So I try my best. A little bit about Prof. Imam. You see, Prof. Imam is already came to USIM for 2 times, and maybe when Prof. Imam, give a lecture, and I remember that Prof. Imam say that if you want, because USIM is a Qibla, is go to Qibla to Makkah, when enter the campus. So Pak Imam said, Qibla is not only that, all aspect also Qibla, only one Qibla. Is it like that? Yeah. Don't follow the other Qibla. So Prof. Musa, Prof. Dr. Rosada may be interested in and to invite him again, But unfortunately for this time, he cannot make it. So Prof. Imam is very productive. Actually, every day he write article. Without stop for the last 8 years. So now the total article of him is 2,900 something articles. You can go to the website of Prof. Imam. And Prof. Imam lead the Universitas Muhammadiyah in Malang for 14 years and win Maliki Malang 16 years. So total is around 30 years of experience, leading the university in Malang. So he is very famous in Indonesia, actually. He has a good concept in Islamic education. That's what I want to explain about this. I start with the question to Pak Imam. It's about Prof. Imam's prior concerns about the situation of our Ummah. We ask, is Islam able to bring Ummah to be leader in the world civilization? The answer of Prof. Imam, certainly yes. And it should be like that. If Islamic education institution as only department, discipline of Sharia, Usuluddin, Dakwah, Adab, and Tarbiyah, the above purpose can be achieved? He said, I feel doubt. facts in reality. Islamic religious education in schools, madrasah, and pesantren. Pesantren is our traditional Islamic boarding school. That's very unique in Indonesia. We have thousands, pesantren there. So, as well as higher education institution, just explaining about tauhid, fikih, akhlak, tasawuf, tarik, and Arabic language. Do you think the purpose can be achieved? And he said, I don't think so. So therefore, are you still convinced that Islam brings improvement? Rahman said, yes, I'm convinced, because Al-Quran and As-Sunnah justify it. Then what's wrong with our understanding on Islam so far? He said, because of misperception on Islam. So return to the paradigm of Al-Quran and As-Sunnah. So there's supporting facts and real situation of the condition right now. Islam, for the most of Muslim, is not understood as a whole concept, but only part of life that only limited to ritual, spiritual, ceremonial activities per se. That is very bad. And also, understanding on Islam is limited to the akhirat, divided between duniawi and ukhrawi, between this world and the hereafter. They make a dichotomy. And Muslims are being left behind in terms of science, technology, economy, politics, etc. So personally, the Ummah cannot be a leader, a Khalifatullah fil ard, in the world civilization, and still as follower. Yet Ummah has not become the superior community. So from these facts and situation, we as a Muslim should change our mindset, should be reformed. The first is, Muslims should be excellent and foremost personality. The second, Al-Quran and Hadith should become the truth main source. And kauniyah ayats, kauniyah verses, must be explored seriously and continuously for the progress of knowledge and sciences. One scholars doing research about kauniyah ayats is around 800 ayats is talk about natural universe, about science. 700 to 800 ayats in the Quran. You know how many in fiqh? Only 150 ayats. It means what? It means kauniyah ayat is very important. 5 times different. So, what is the reality? Books on fiqh, 1,000 books. Okay? How about books on science from Muslims? Almost nothing. This is very logic. It's very logic. And then, Islam teaches about bright future life. Islam has a story that succeeded in building preeminent civilization in the past. Some historical facts. Islam achieved improvement when it was inclusivity between science and religion. Different with Western. In the Western, they left the Holy Book, they become developed nation. We left our Holy Book, we become what? So, and then Islam does not enough to be approached by the discipline of Sharia, Usuluddin, Dakwah, Adab, and Tarbiyah only. Then should be completed by social, natural, and human sciences. Islam is not only known as the aspect of Tauhid, Fiqh, Al-Qiyas, Tasawuf, Tarik, and Arabic language. Islam is not limited to ritual only, but there is a wide civilization. As you know, Islam was historically succeed to create superior civilization when the Abbasiyah era in Baghdad and also Bani Umayyah in Spain. We can find the literature about this, if, so many about the golden age of Islam. So education in this case brings mission of enlightenment and civility or akhlakul karimah. So therefore we must reformulate our institution, Islamic education institution. Graduate, this is what UIN Maliki Malang, our university also want to provide the graduates like this, at least 4. First is, the graduate has spiritual depth, and then have akhlakul karimah, noble behavior, breadth of knowledge, science, knowledge, and the 4th is professional maturity. 4 in 1, cannot be separated. Muslim who always doing good deeds for the benefit not only of himself, but the most important thing is for others as well. The 3rd is ummah who has culture, wisdom, and ethics in their life to get the grace, blessing of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Then, when discussed with Pak Imam, and this is also Pak Imam concept, actually mission and vision of Islam can be divided by 5, or this is 5 cannot be separated. 5 in 1, this one. The scope of Islamic study from the perspective of Quran and Hadith. The first is development of science. Second is building excellent personality. Third, create social justice and equality, giving ritual guidance. And the 5 is maintaining good deeds. So let us start number 1, development of science. The first revelation, as you know, is Iqra, right? Iqra bismi rabbikal ladzi khalaq. It means what? It's not only reading. It is to understand, to observe, to do research. Yeah? Read or recite in the name of God who created. That's the first reason. The second reason is Asmaul Husna. We have 99 Asmaul Husna, the names of Allah. Number 1 is Al-Khaliq. What is Al-Khaliq means? Creator, innovator, maker, pencipta in bahasa Indonesia is pencipta. So we must produce something. We must create something. Don't be follower. And the third is tilawah. Risalah, the first task of Risalah Nabi is tilawah. As in the Surah Al-Jumu'ah, ayat 2 is about A'udzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim walladzi ba'atsa fil ummiyina rasulan minhum yatlu 'alaihim ayatihi wa yujaqihim wa yu'allimuhumul kitaba wal hikmah wa in kanu min qablu lafi dhalalim mubin. Read and read. It means read science, knowledge. So Al-Quran asks to understand the universe. Then Iqra, Al-Khaliq, and Tilawah is the instrument, is the tools, to open the mystery of the universe. It's number 1, development of science. I think this is, I jump to number 2, the building excellent personality. Number 2, the mission of Islam is also to build excellent personality. The character should be developed knowing himself, like Professor Muhaya, yes, no, you know. You must know yourself. Where are you from? What do you want to go? Something like that. So knowing yourself. If you know yourself, you can understand, of God. Because Allah said, if you want to know me, you learn, you think about about my creature. So man is creature, right? So learn knowing ourselves. And then able to be trusted, Al-Amin. Trust person. Trust person means what? To become good man. Talk the truth, not lie. And then, if somebody gives amanah, give a job, for example, they're doing very well. That's amanah. Yeah. So, three of them together become al-amin. Good person. Okay? The trust person. And then, able to take care of the heart, mind, the heart, mind, and jism, body. 3 in 1. Because if you, for example, your eyes see everything bad, can be go to the heart. Black spot, something like that. And this hadith also mentioned, right? In the kolbu. Yeah, in the kolbu. Yeah, in the kolb. And then, mind also. In Islam say the akal, ya, akal. Mind akal. So we must take care of our akal. And then think and act not only for himself, but others. Not become selfish person, but become selfless. Or you must help people. And then the number 3 is establish social justice and equality. As we know that before Islam come to to Rasulullah, to the Arabia Peninsula, there was ignorant society there. There was many conflicts, competition, dominate to each other, do not care others, jahiliyah society, ignorant society. So cheating, oppressive, beat each other, and no fairness, no integrity. The darkness at the time, darkness. So Islam came to change this, to shift this, to become superior society. Start from ta'aruf among us, ta'aruf first, to know other. After ta'aruf, tafahum, to understand. This is a step of that. After tafahum, that tarahum, that's love, like. And after tarahum, ta'awun. Ta'awun means help each other. And then the last and the highest level is tasamu. Automatically doing good deeds, performing good deeds. If that level already, go through with that level, and then the last level is automatically doing good deeds. Help people if people have problems, etc. So it is in our personality, actually. And then number 2 is protect, help orphan, weak and poor people. This is orphan, is very important. How many of us, care with the orphan? I just give you a story. It's very interesting story in Indonesia. The founder of Muhammadiyah, Kiai Haji Ahmad Dahlan. At the time is subuh prayer, he always, recite surat in the rakaat, Al-Ma'un, surat Al-Ma'un. You know surat Al-Ma'un, right? It's about orphan. So those who do not care, orphan is denial, deny person. Okay, so he always every day he recite surat Al-Maun. So the santri shouldn't ask, the ustad, Kiai Haji Ahmad Dahlan, Kiai, Why you always, repeat again, Al-Ma'un? What Kiai Haji Ahmad Dahlan say? Have you already implemented that ayah? And this student, santri, feel, feel guilty. So after that, Muhammadiyah become big, 1,000 orphanage, 1,000 education like that. So maybe Muslim world must be, follow that example. That's very good. We have so many Islam, but we don't kiblat to them. We kiblat to the other. That's the problem. Like my friend here, Dr. Malki, for example, he will go to Leiden for what? To get the manuscript of ulama Nusantara. That only Leiden has that manuscript, in the Leiden in the library, Pak Malki. It's only in the Leiden. So why we don't care about that? So that is problem, our problem. And then weak people, independent thinking, and to behave in the framework of the Holy Book, fair, civility, perform noble behavior, bright and enlightened. And number 4 is giving ritual guidance. This is what we always doing, about ritual. That usually we stress only number 4. The Prophet teach zikir. Yeah, zikir you can as many as you can. Yeah, anywhere zikir. Salat, fasting, zakat, and hajj. Differences in ritual performing had been occurred since the Prophet era and did not make this unity of ummah. They unite. But now why? We are khilafiyah, for example. Yeah, we do not, help each other, for example, like that. So togetherness in performing ritual jama'ah is very important. Therefore, in our university, Prof. Imam always jama'ah, always pray jama'ah. So all lecture and student feel, same if you do not jama'ah. Because according Prof. Imam say, there are only 3 things to make people good in, akhlak. Yeah. First, just close to the mosque or the Holy Quran first, then mosque, and then close to the ulama, close to the ulama or the prophet stories. So, and to be considered that we know it's very complete ritual activities. Yeah. In second, we can zikir, doing zikir. Salat 5 times a day, that is hourly basis, our daily basis. And then weekly is Salat Jum'ah. Fasting Ramadan is monthly, 1 month. Yeah. And yearly is zakat. And then lifetime is pilgrimage, hajj. So the number 5 is maintaining good deeds. Amal means work or activity. Soleh means stride, proper, right, and expert. So amal soleh is to work in the stride, proper, and right way, in line with its expertise, and to be conducted professionally, for example, as politician, technician, lawyer, teacher, and other profession. This is the right meaning of amal soleh. Because why? In our country, for example, I don't know in here, amal soleh is only identical with kotak amal, kotak amal, the box in the mosque, amal soleh, amal jariyah. No, amal soleh is not like that. Amal soleh like this, actually. If you work properly, professionally, okay, enthusiastically, something like that. Okay, this is amal soleh means. Okay, I still have time. The conclusion now. So the mission of Islam are bring its ummah for rich in science and knowledge, possessing excellent personality, justice, fairness, equality of social order, having deep spirituality and ritual, able to perform amal soleh, professional work. Then this ummah will lead the world civilization, inshallah. So last thing is, of course, to apply, this concept, yeah, we need expert on curriculum, instructional management, and the Islamic education system, in accordance with Professor Imam views, yeah, on integration between science and Islam. Wallahu a'lam bishawab. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Aris.